There are routes you were never meant to see. The invisible travel faster than the world can track. This network begins where maps end. Speed here is treated like a weapon. For the ultra-rich, distance no longer exists. Cities are crossed like neighborhoods. Mach 1 is no longer military fantasy. The wealthy are already buying it. The airport they use is hidden inside the airport, you know. Access is inherited, not booked online. The supersonic economy is already operating. Most people simply don't know it exists. The conquered never truly disappeared. It just changed owners. It just changed owners. A hidden control network manages every flight. A hidden control network manages every flight. Invisible by design, invisible by design. At this altitude, the world below feels unreal. Borders become meaningless lines. Borders become meaningless lines. When your runway is private, borders become optional. The wealthy build their own world. Mach 5 technology already exists. The only question is who gets access. Billion-dollar deals now happen above the clouds. Billion-dollar deals now happen above the clouds. The boardroom has moved into the sky. The boardroom has moved into the sky. Some destinations don't exist on public records. Some destinations don't exist on public records. The journey ends behind hidden doors. Those who know rarely speak. And those who speak never stay long. At Mach 1, luxury becomes silent. Everything is engineered for comfort. Some aircraft are no longer transportation. They are airborne command centers. The invisible arrive without witnesses. For some families, near space travel is normal life. The extraordinary becomes routine. The extraordinary becomes routine. Even the insurance industry has adapted to this hidden world. Every hour in the sky costs a fortune. Two worlds exist under the same sky. One waits, one never does. One waits, one never does. There are places in the sky you are not allowed to know about. Routes that don't appear on radar. Speeds that don't exist in any airline brochure. This is how the invisible travel. It begins in places that don't appear on Google Maps. Facilities guarded by private armies and NDAs, where speed is not a luxury, it's a weapon. Welcome to the world's most classified travel network. For the world's ultra-wealthy, geography is no longer a barrier. New York to Dubai, breakfast to dinner, same day. Not on any commercial flight you've ever heard of. The real distance between cities is measured in dollars, not miles. They fly above commercial airspace, above weather, above rules. Some aircraft disappear from civilian radar entirely. The invisible Hyperloop runs 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is the invisible Hyperloop. Mach 1, the speed of sound. Mach 1, the speed of sound. Not in the future, right now. And almost nobody on Earth knows it exists. The airport you know is not the airport they use. There are terminals within terminals, doors within doors. Access is not purchased with a ticket. Access is inherited, negotiated, or classified. Companies like Boom, Hermes, and Spike Aerospace aren't building the future. They're building the present for a very specific clientele. Price is not listed. Inquire by invitation only. The supersonic economy is already open for business. The Concorde died for everyone, except those with enough money to resurrect it. What was buried in 2003 is being reborn, privately, quietly, expensively. The speed of sound never went away. It just changed its passenger list. Every ultra-high-speed flight is managed by a shadow control network. This world didn't begin yesterday. 60 years of private aviation built the infrastructure quietly. These flights are invisible because they're designed to be invisible to you, invisible to competitors, sometimes invisible to governments. At 60,000 feet, the curvature of the Earth is visible. At Mach 1, the sky ahead turns silent. For those inside, the world below becomes abstract. A map they own rather than a place they inhabit. Speed without comfort is just velocity. These aircraft are engineered for both simultaneously. A world-class restaurant at Mach 1, a boardroom above the stratosphere. The cabin is as classified as the aircraft itself. When your runway is a private island, borders are theoretical. No customs, no delays, no record, sometimes. The ultra-wealthy don't travel through the world's infrastructure. In altitudes that shouldn't be possible for civilian aircraft, speeds that weren't logged end. Hermes is building Mach 5 aircraft, not for NASA, and those billions are being spent right now for a very private market. This technology exists, it is being funded, it is not theoretical. The question is, who gets to board? Membership to this network is not applied for, it is offered. The boarding pass is a set of coordinates. The destination changes, the exclusion never does. You are not on this list, and neither is almost everyone you know. At any given moment, hundreds of ultra-private flights crisscross the globe. No announcements, no delays, no witnesses. The invisible Hyperloop runs 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You just can't see it. Deals worth billions are signed above the clouds. Decisions that reshape economies happen at Mach 1. The boardroom has moved to the stratosphere, and the minutes of those meetings are never published. The destination is as secret as the journey. Properties that appear on no public registry. Compounds accessible only by the aircraft that serves them. The invisible Hyperloop doesn't end at an airport. It ends at a door. Those who know rarely speak. Those who speak rarely stay in this industry. What we know has been pieced together from contracts, filings, and conversations that were never meant to be recorded. What remains hidden is larger than what has been found. The aircraft that carry the invisible are not mass-produced. Each one is commissioned, each one is unique, built to specifications that are never published, and delivered to owners who are never named. Governments know these flights exist. Certain military corridors are sold legally to private operators. The paperwork exists, the transparency does not. Speed is permissible when you can afford the right permissions. At Mach 1, you are still served by hand. The galley is stocked by 3-star chefs. The silence is engineered by acoustic teams. Mach 1 is not violent when you own the vehicle. Supersonic flight burns fuel at rates commercial aviation cannot afford to imagine. The fuel supply chain for these aircraft is entirely private. Sourced, stored, and delivered outside of public infrastructure. Every detail of this world is invisible by design. Speed at this level is competitive advantage. While rivals sleep, the invisible are already there. Deals closed before the competition lands. Geography weaponized by velocity. Deals closed before the competition lands. Some of these aircraft are not transport vehicles, they are command centers. Decisions made here affect markets, affect elections, affect borders. Altitude provides not just speed, but sovereignty. Above 40,000 feet, jurisdiction becomes complicated. Transfers executed where no single nation's law applies fully. Above international waters, jurisdiction becomes complicated. Contracts signed at altitude in non-jurisdictional airspace. Transfers executed where no single nation's law applies fully. The invisible arrive invisibly, success above the clouds. Arrival is as choreographed as departure, vanishing before the world knows. From aircraft to destination in under 4 minutes. No trail, no witness, no schedule anyone outside the network can verify. The invisible arrive invisibly, leaving no trace in the public record. I signed agreements I cannot discuss, and I flew people I cannot name, but I can tell you, it was real, all of it. Altitudes that shouldn't be possible for civilian aircraft. Speeds that weren't logged. I signed agreements I cannot discuss, and I flew people I cannot name. But I can tell you, it was real, all of it. Those who manage public airspace see things they are not supposed to discuss. Anomalies are logged, then reclassified, then forgotten. Anomalies are logged, then reclassified, then forgotten. It just moves through it with a different kind of clearance. They will grow up not knowing a world where borders slow you down. The extraordinary becomes routine when inherited. They will grow up not knowing a world where borders slow you down, or where speed has a price they must consider. The engineering required to survive Mach 5 is indistinguishable from space technology. The heat, the pressure, the vibration. Solving these problems costs billions. And those billions are being spent, right now, for a very private market. Mach 1 doesn't happen without permission. Permission costs more than fuel. Certain governments have quietly created regulatory frameworks for private supersonic operators. The details are not published, the benefits are mutual. When your aircraft costs $300 million, insurance becomes existential. Underwriters who specialize in this world charge accordingly. The premiums alone fund small aviation departments. Even the financial infrastructure of this world is invisible to the public. While the storm delays your flight, theirs is already above it. Weather is a problem for those who fly inside the atmosphere. At 60,000 feet, the atmosphere is beneath you, as is most of the world's turbulence, literal and metaphorical. This world didn't begin yesterday. 60 years of private aviation built the infrastructure quietly. What began as faster first class evolved into something entirely separate. A parallel transport civilization hidden inside the one we know. Two worlds, same planet, same sky. One waits, one does not. One is seen, one is not. The invisible Hyperloop has always been there. You just weren't supposed to notice. The invisible Hyperloop requires invisible architecture. A ghost network built parallel to every public system, private ATC, private navigation, private encryption, a transportation grid that exists alongside the world but never touches it. This is not an airport. This is the brain of the invisible network. Hundreds of flights managed in secret every week. Their routes don't appear in public databases. Their passengers don't appear in any manifest you can access. Door to door is not a metaphor for these passengers. Helicopter to supersonic, rooftop to stratosphere. Every minute engineered out of the journey. Total door to door for New York to London, under 4 hours. For the ultra-wealthy, travel is a system, not a service. Yacht to helicopter to supersonic jet in one seamless sequence. Each vehicle owned, each transition timed to seconds. The world arranges itself. You simply move through it. The aircraft you cannot track is registered where you cannot look. Offshore registries, beneficial ownership structures, shell trusts. The plane that carried the deal is owned by a company that doesn't appear to own anything. Speed and invisibility extend to the paperwork. Everyone in this network signs agreements that would survive most court challenges. Pilots, crew, ground staff, fuel suppliers, maintenance engineers. The legal architecture is as sophisticated as the technical one. Silence is not just expected, it is contractually enforced. Some of these airports are privately owned from the ground up. No public authority has jurisdiction inside the perimeter. Staff live on site during operations, some for months at a time. Total privacy requires total control of the environment. Some runways are built where nature says no. Cut into mountains, extended over water, buried in forests. The engineering cost is immaterial when the privacy required is absolute. Accessibility for the few is built on inaccessibility for the many. Ground transport is integrated into the speed equation. Traffic lights can be cleared with the right technology. Private road access through city infrastructure, legally obtained. Every minute of every journey has been engineered out. Starlink is public, their network is not. Dedicated private satellite constellations serve the invisible Hyperloop. Latency, zero, encryption, military-grade, cost, irrelevant to the client. When speed is the product, connectivity cannot be the bottleneck. Supersonic private aircraft cannot use standard commercial parts. The supply chain is as specialized as the aircraft itself. Components manufactured to unique specifications, sourced from classified suppliers. Maintenance performed by a crew that maintains only these aircraft, for only these clients. Some arrivals happen in complete darkness by design. No lights, no radio contact on monitored frequencies, no record. From orbital view, the site appears empty within minutes. The invisible Hyperloop can arrive and disappear from a location without leaving a trace. Weather is the only variable they cannot fully control, so they invested in predicting it better than any public service can. Private weather modeling that saves fuel and time on every flight. Even the atmosphere is managed as private infrastructure. The journey begins not at the airport, not at the car. It begins in the penthouse, connected directly to the sky. Vertical integration of private transport, home to helicopter to hypersonic. A door-to-door system measured in minutes, not hours. The Pacific used to be a half-day barrier. At Mach 1, it becomes a 3-hour crossing. Tokyo for breakfast, Los Angeles for lunch. The largest ocean on Earth, compressed into a morning commute. Some of these aircraft carry a physician. Not as a precaution, as a standard feature. Continuous biometric monitoring for every passenger. Because at Mach 1, the nearest hospital is an hour away, unless the hospital is aboard. The network that moves the invisible must be defended as aggressively as it is hidden. Nation-state level cyber attacks have targeted private aviation systems. The response is a cybersecurity operation that rivals government agencies. Because what moves through this network is worth protecting at any cost. The technology being tested here will carry the ultra-wealthy within 5 years. Mach 5, New York to Tokyo in 2 hours. The test vehicles are already flying. The passenger seats are already being designed. The pilots of this network are not commercial aviators who upgraded. They are specialists trained on vehicles that don't officially exist, certified through private systems, paid at a level that ensures permanent silence. The invisible Hyperloop needs invisible pilots. New facilities are being built right now, under NDAs, under privacy screens, in places that won't appear in planning records. The invisible Hyperloop is expanding, and its infrastructure is being built to last for decades. Davos, Bilderberg, the Allen and Company Sun Valley Conference. These gatherings can only happen because of what the airstrip enables. The invisible Hyperloop delivers the world's most powerful people to the same place, and then disperses them back before the cameras notice who was there. Diplomacy has always required secrecy. Speed amplifies it. Back-channel negotiations happen in the air. Agreements reached before either party lands in their home country. Back-channel negotiations happen in the air. At certain altitudes, national airspace law becomes ambiguous. Above 60,000 feet, sovereignty claims vary by country and treaty. Some private supersonic operators exploit this ambiguity, legally, deliberately. Above 60,000 feet, sovereignty claims vary by country and treaty. The interior of a supersonic private aircraft costs more than most aircraft themselves. Materials tested for acoustic performance at Mach 1, designed by teams who work under lifelong NDAs. The passenger experience is as classified as the aircraft's speed profile. The storms that ground your flights are beneath their flight path. Not metaphorically, literally. The infrastructure of the invisible Hyperloop places its passengers above weather entirely. What delays you for hours is, for them, scenery. Route planning at this level requires its own intelligence operation. Geopolitical risk assessments, military corridor negotiations, diplomatic clearances. The invisible Hyperloop has its own foreign policy. Speed requires not just technology, but access. Journalists have tried to document this world for decades. The access is denied before the request is complete. What has been published represents a fraction of what is known, and what is known is a fraction of what exists. The invisible Hyperloop is also an extraordinary investment thesis. Venture capital has discovered that the ultra-wealthy spend without limit on time. Private aviation is one of the fastest-growing luxury sectors on Earth. The invisible is becoming big business, while remaining perfectly hidden. Each aircraft takes years to build. Each one costs as much as a small hospital system, and each one is purchased before it's finished. Demand exceeds supply. Sovereignty in this world is a currency, and it is spent carefully. Sovereignty in this world is a currency, and it is spent carefully. Every aircraft in this network was once a risk. A test pilot's life placed between engineering ambition and atmospheric reality. Those test pilots are not celebrated publicly. Their courage is classified with everything else. Border control is not eliminated for the invisible, it's privatized. Pre-clearance, biometric pre-enrollment, diplomatic facilitation. Immigration is a service they pay for, not a queue they join. Some private supersonic operators exploit this ambiguity, legally, deliberately. Nations compete for the privilege of hosting this network, preferential airspace access, tax arrangements, infrastructure investment. Small nations become significant players in global private aviation by saying yes. The aircraft don't just move people, they enable relationships. The invisible Hyperloop is also a social network. Its passengers are connected to each other in ways that predate the flights. Relationships that move more than people. Per passenger, per mile, there is nothing more carbon intensive. The invisible Hyperloop generates an extraordinary carbon footprint. Commitments to sustainable fuel have been made, timelines keep extending. The speed of climate action is somewhat less impressive than Mach 1. The invisible Hyperloop has its own foreign policy. The architecture of invisibility is not a metaphor. The architecture of invisibility is not a metaphor. The invisible Hyperloop is the most sophisticated transport system ever built, and it was built to be invisible to you, specifically. Even the fastest system has moments it cannot outrun. Weather, mechanical failure, human error. When speed is your competitive advantage, its absence is catastrophic. The invisible Hyperloop's greatest vulnerability is the moment it stops. Private aviation accidents are investigated differently. Different agencies, different reporting chains, different public disclosure standards. When the aircraft belongs to someone powerful enough, the accident report can take years, and certain findings never reach the public record. A single hour of supersonic private flight costs more than most people earn in a year. A single transatlantic supersonic charter, $250,000 to $1.2 million per trip, one way, before extras. For those who pay it, the price is not the point. The time is. When mechanical failure interrupts the invisible Hyperloop, the response is military. A global network of spare parts, replacement crew, and substitute aircraft deployed instantly. The system is engineered to absorb failure and continue. For these passengers, the acceptable maximum delay is measured in hours, not days. Building the invisible Hyperloop costs more than using it. Supersonic development companies have burned through billions. Boom Supersonic, Arion, Spike Aerospace. The graveyard of ambition is crowded. Building for the 1% requires more than their money. Building for the 1% requires more than their money. It requires their patience. Regulations that would constrain the invisible Hyperloop are managed before they become law. Private aviation lobbyists are some of the most effective in Washington. Supersonic overflight rules, noise regulations, environmental reporting requirements, all of these have been shaped, softened, or delayed by the people who fly above them. Environmental accountability for private aviation moves at a different speed than the aircraft themselves. Lawsuits dismissed, reporting requirements waived. The legal system, like the atmosphere, is navigated rather than confronted. The system has performed exactly as designed. The ultra-wealthy who fly at Mach 1 carry a specific threat profile. Kidnapping, ransom, hostile state actors with shoulder-fired missiles. Their aircraft carry military-grade countermeasures that are not publicly disclosed. Speed alone is not the full protection, but it helps significantly. When the workers who run public airports strike, the invisible are unaffected. Their labor force is separate, their contracts are different, their protections are fewer. The invisible Hyperloop is immune to the disruptions it benefits from never acknowledging. Two aviation systems. One suffers the consequences of the other's existence. Sonic booms are not the only sound the invisible Hyperloop makes. Communities near private airstrips have been fighting noise complaints for decades. Legal frameworks protect private aviation operations from almost all residential challenges. The speed of the wealthy creates turbulence for those who cannot afford to move away from it. Not every company that tries to build the invisible Hyperloop survives. Interior, skeleton crew, offices emptied. The business plan that required hypersonic fleet sales has not achieved required volume. The dream of private hypersonic travel temporarily impounded. Building for the ultra-wealthy requires their conviction as much as their cash. A legal dispute beginning, the insurance company questioning specific maintenance records. The aircraft owner's attorneys prepared for exactly this question. Insurance claims in this world are not processed. They are negotiated, settlements sealed, records managed, details contained. Even the financial consequences of failure are invisible. The human cost of the invisible Hyperloop is paid by those who operate it. Inside the crew facility, private rest quarters, separate from any hotel or public accommodation, the crew debriefing in a room with no windows. A crew member reviewing NDA terms, a reminder delivered before each debrief, the document they signed years ago, reaffirmed before every debrief. The price of their participation is their silence, permanently. A union organizer meeting privately with private aviation workers, the meeting held in an unmarked location, everyone present knowing the professional risk they're taking. Their grievances are resolved through private arbitration, specified in their contracts. They cannot discuss their work. They cannot organize publicly. The human infrastructure of the invisible is as constrained as everything else in this world. Congressional oversight of private aviation is a process rather than a mechanism of accountability. The questions are asked, the answers are crafted, the records are managed. A committee member pressing harder, asking about specific incidents, the executive's legal team objecting, a pause, the question rephrased, the answer remaining unchanged. Accountability, like speed, is unevenly distributed. The invisible Hyperloop has become somewhat more visible in recent years. Flight trackers, public outrage, climate activists with ADS-B receivers. The response has been decisive. More obscure registrations, Mode C transponder management, private airspace agreements. But for the first time, some of the invisible Hyperloop is visible to anyone with a phone. Even within the 1%, there are layers. New money does not automatically access old speed. The Invisible Hyperloop's membership is curated, not purchased. Wealth is necessary but not sufficient. Intelligence services around the world track the Invisible Hyperloop. Not all private supersonic flights are benign commercial ventures. Some carry people and materials that intelligence agencies monitor very carefully. A senior intelligence official reviewing the brief, making a call, the conversation one-sided from the camera's perspective, clearly significant. A subsequent flight, the same aircraft, same route, except this time there is a second aircraft nearby at a discrete distance, tracking it. The Invisible Hyperloop has a shadow, and the shadow has its own aircraft. The Invisible Hyperloop has been used for things its designers never intended. Sanctions evasion, asset flight, people with problems they can afford to move internationally. Not all its passengers are merely wealthy. Some are wanted. Speed, it turns out, is useful for reasons beyond commerce. Supersonic regulations are written by those who benefit from supersonic. International aviation bodies have been navigated with the same skill as the aircraft themselves. What would constrain the Invisible Hyperloop is recategorized as arranged innovation hampering. The response has been fierce, legal, technological, political. The Invisible Hyperloop touches developing nations, but does not arrive. They are paid extraordinarily well, they sign extraordinarily binding agreements. The contrast is not ironic, it is intentional. Speed for the few requires infrastructure everywhere, even where it will never be shared. The sustainability commitments of private aviation operators exist in a category of their own. Not quite lies, not quite truths, numbers that are technically defensible and practically meaningless. The Invisible Hyperloop's carbon footprint is as invisible as everything else about it. One of several methodological perspectives. Emergencies in this world are resolved before the public knows they occurred. The incident reporting system is private. The investigation is private. The outcome is private. A near miss at Mach 1 in restricted airspace generates no news cycle. Successful landing, the crew walking around the aircraft on the ramp, ground engineers already there, the incident contained, the passengers transferred, the record sealed. Interior of an aircraft mid-ocean, 2 passengers in a heated discussion, body language tense, documents on the table between them. The dispute visible but content unknown. The discussion escalating. 1 passenger standing, the aircraft crew visible through the cabin door, monitoring but not intervening. Agreements made at Mach 1 over international waters occupy a unique legal space. What happens at 60,000 feet stays at 60,000 feet. The locations of the invisible are among the most protected secrets in private security. When that data is exposed, the consequences ripple through boardrooms and governments alike. Knowing where the 1% are when they don't want to be known is extraordinarily valuable. The vulnerability transformed into new infrastructure within 48 hours. Even the disputes of the Invisible Hyperloop are resolved invisibly. Private arbitration, no public court, no public record. The stakes are enormous, the visibility is zero. In this world, even conflict has a privacy clause. The next generation of the Invisible Hyperloop is already being tested. The engine achieving designed thrust, instruments recording Mach 6 equivalent performance, a milestone that will not be announced publicly. The technology exists in a test cell in a facility you will never find. The timeline to private passenger service, classified. A wealthy first-generation immigrant, now one of the ultra-wealthy, boarding a private aircraft, returning to the country they left as a child via commercial economy class. Landing at a private airstrip, vehicles waiting, the arrival quiet, private, the first-generation success story choosing invisibility even in their home country. Walking across the tarmac. The distance between where they started and where they are now measured not in miles, but in the aircraft they arrived in. A private aircraft parked on a remote runway, its owner inside on a call. Outside, drought-cracked earth, a community visible in the distance without clean water access. The aircraft's fuel consumption running, engines at idle, burning resources that could serve the community visible through the window. The call ending, the aircraft preparing to depart, the community unaware of the aircraft's presence or its occupants' decisions. At 60,000 feet, the problems below are quite literally beneath notice. The response has been fierce, legal, technological, political, but for the first time, some of the Invisible Hyperloop is visible to anyone with a phone. In this world, even conflict has a privacy clause. But for the first time, some of the Invisible Hyperloop is visible to anyone with a phone. Arian's collapse did not collapse the industry. Empty hangars, the Ariane facility, aircraft designs on walls, abandoned equipment, the ghost of ambition visible in the unfinished infrastructure. Former Ariane engineers at a new company, interviewed in a comfortable office, speaking about lessons learned, the institutional knowledge refusing to die with the company. The engineers' new company, different name, same goal, Supersonic private aviation, the dream transferred rather than abandoned, funded by new investors who believe the market is real. The people who build the invisible Hyperloop and the people who use it occupy the same conference rooms. The supply meets its demand face to face. None of it will be announced. None of it will be announced. For the children of the invisible Hyperloop, this is simply how travel works. The extraordinary is their ordinary. They will grow up to run the institutions that shape the world. They will grow up to run the institutions that shape the world. And they will do it from aircraft that most of the world doesn't know exist. The same infrastructure investment that might fix the subway funds the private airstrip. These are not separate worlds sharing a planet. They are the same system, distributing its benefits very differently. Not scrapped, protected, their interiors intact, their logbooks redacted. The history of what moved through these cabins is, like everything in this world, managed. Even the retirement of the invisible Hyperloop is invisible. What you are about to see is not science fiction. It is the stated commercial timeline of multiple funded private aerospace companies. Global point-to-point travel in under 1 hour. The invisible Hyperloop is not the destination. It is the origin story. SpaceX has publicly stated the ambition, anywhere on Earth in under an hour. Elon Musk has described it as a commercial product. The competitors are building their own versions. The invisible Hyperloop's successor will use space as a shortcut. The ultra-wealthy are not waiting for point-to-point space travel to be ready. They are reserving seats on vehicles being built to their specifications. Their deposits fund the development. Their impatience sets the timeline. The regulations for suborbital commercial travel are being written right now, written in rooms where private aerospace companies have more expertise than the regulators. The framework will be called safety-based, but its architecture will be built to enable private commerce first. The invisible Hyperloop is a chapter in a larger story, the story of a transportation revolution that will separate the world not by geography, but by velocity. Those who can afford the fastest vehicles will inhabit a different version of time. The gap between the 1% and everyone else will not be measured in wealth alone. It will be measured in minutes. Private aerospace has replicated what took governments decades to build, in years. The talent, the technology, the facilities, assembled with private capital at private speed. No congressional approval, no public budget process, no democratic oversight. The future of human transportation is being designed without the public's input. Artificial intelligence is now managing the invisible Hyperloop. Route optimization, risk assessment, crew scheduling, maintenance prediction. The human operators are becoming supervisors of a system that increasingly supervises itself. The invisible Hyperloop is becoming smarter, faster, and more invisible than any human team could manage. Sovereign wealth funds are now investing in private supersonic aviation, governments funding a transport system that their own citizens will never use. The returns will benefit the nation. The aircraft will benefit the few. The invisible Hyperloop is a sovereign asset in 6 countries already. The infrastructure of the next invisible Hyperloop is already being built. Terminals designed for 12 passengers, not 1,200. Technology that costs more per user than a first-class suite on any commercial carrier. The physical world being remade at the margins, where few can see what's happening. The logical endpoint of private transportation is private geography. Cities built by the ultra-wealthy for the ultra-wealthy, with their own aviation infrastructure. Not just a private aircraft, a private departure airport, a private arrival city. The invisible Hyperloop doesn't end at the aircraft. It ends at a world within the world. The people who build the invisible Hyperloop are not its passengers. Brilliant engineers, technicians, designers, building the most advanced transport in history for people they will never meet, to destinations they will never reach by the aircraft they designed. Sustainable Mach 1 is being solved. The technology exists. The fuels are being produced. The emissions can be reduced, but sustainable supersonic fuel costs 6 times more than standard jet fuel. The solution is available exclusively to the market that created the problem. The Concorde carried 100 passengers. At $12,000 per ticket in today's money, the new supersonic era may eventually offer a similar model. Not democratic, but less exclusive. The invisible Hyperloop over decades may become the supersonic Hyperloop. Expensive, but visible. Private hypersonic capability has attracted government interest. The military cannot always build faster than the private sector can buy. Contracts are being issued to private hypersonic operators by defense establishments worldwide. The invisible Hyperloop is becoming part of national security infrastructure. The invisible Hyperloop, when directed toward humanitarian need, saves lives no other system can save. Speed at scale becomes an ethical force when applied. The question is not whether private supersonic can serve the public good. The question is whether it will choose to consistently, systematically as policy rather than exception. The world is beginning to regulate what it barely knows exists. The regulatory response is years behind the technology, as always. And the regulated are writing the regulations, as always. The invisible Hyperloop will be governed on its own terms. The mass production of hypersonic private aircraft is not a distant dream. The production engineering is being solved now. Scale will reduce price. Price will expand access. The invisible Hyperloop may, over decades, become the expensive Hyperloop, and then just the Hyperloop. The optimistic trajectory of the invisible Hyperloop ends in democratized speed. Not tomorrow, not next decade. But the arc of transportation history bends toward inclusion, eventually. The question is, how many decades of exclusive acceleration occur before the bend? In 1903, powered flight was for one person at a time. By 1970, it carried 500 million people per year. The technology that begins for the one always ends for the many. The invisible Hyperloop is 1903. We are waiting for its 1970. At Mach 1, you can outrun the sunset. The day you left is still visible behind you while the night of your destination waits ahead. Speed at this level changes your relationship not just with space, but with time itself. The invisible Hyperloop doesn't just move you through the world, it moves you through time. The next chapter of the invisible Hyperloop launches vertically, point-to-point suborbital, London to Sydney in 45 minutes. The engineering is solved, the facilities are being built. The timeline is years, not decades, and the passenger list is being assembled, privately of course. The logical endpoint of the invisible Hyperloop is not a runway, it is an orbit. Private space stations for private meetings, deals closed where no government has jurisdiction. The invisible Hyperloop's final destination is beyond Earth's atmosphere and beyond Earth's laws. The invisible Hyperloop is visible now, to you watching this, not to the systems that were designed to keep it hidden, not to the regulations that prefer not to look, but to you, watching an aircraft disappear above the clouds. That aircraft has always been there. The people of the invisible Hyperloop are not a monolith. Some inherited it, some built it, some stumbled into it, some are improving the world while using it, some are not. The invisible Hyperloop does not select for virtue, only for net worth. The integration of the invisible Hyperloop with public infrastructure is not impossible. It requires political will, regulatory courage, and a redistribution of access. It also requires those who built the invisible system to accept visibility. And visibility is precisely what the system was designed to avoid. The invisible Hyperloop operates above the world you know. It moves through your sky without your knowledge, at speeds beyond your imagination. Tonight, right now, someone is crossing the world at Mach 1 above where you sleep. You will never meet them. They will never slow down for you. The sky is shared, the access is not. The invisible Hyperloop is not a transportation problem. It is a democracy problem. When the people who make decisions for society remove themselves from the consequences of those decisions at Mach 1, the feedback loop that makes democracy function is broken. They can leave before the consequences arrive and return after they've been resolved by others. Speed at this scale is not just privilege. It is the infrastructure of unaccountability. The invisible Hyperloop was built by engineers who believed in speed, not in exclusivity, in speed. Speed as liberation, speed as solution. The technology is not inherently privileged. The economics are. change the economics, and you change who the speed serves. Time ultimately is the product, not speed, not luxury, not privacy. Time is what the invisible Hyperloop sells and what it delivers. Hours returned to a life, days extended by velocity, years reclaimed from geography. The invisible Hyperloop exists. It is real, operational, funded, and expanding. Its geography maps power, not population. Its users are not random. They are the people who determine what the world becomes. Every journey of the invisible Hyperloop ends the same way. Evidence managed, records sealed, aircraft stored, personnel dispersed. The world returns to apparent normalcy. Until the next flight, which has already been filed, approved, and is wheels up by the time you finish watching this. The invisible Hyperloop is not a conspiracy. It is a consequence of accumulated wealth, accumulated technology, and accumulated indifference. The sky above your head belongs to the same planet you stand on, but it does not belong to you in the same way it belongs to them. I've seen the curvature of the Earth from the cockpit 1,000 times, they said. And every single time I think, this should not be reserved for the few. Not because of politics, because of what it does to you, to see the planet like that. It makes you humble in ways that money usually doesn't. The sky does not know who paid for it. It holds the private jet and the paper airplane with equal indifference. The invisible Hyperloop exists because we built a world that allows it, and it will change when we build a world that demands something different. The invisible Hyperloop was never built to be seen, but now you've seen it. What you do with that visibility is the only speed that matters. The speed of change, the speed of accountability, the speed of a world deciding what it will allow.